Welcome to this week's episode of the Rockstar Manifestors podcast. Oh, excuse me, I was just coughing right before it started recording, so we'll just stick with it and see how it goes. So, hi, everybody. The question that I have for you today is what is it that is holding you back? And are you truly helpless to change the situation? And the reason I'm asking you this is along the lines of what is it that's holding you back in your thinking, your conversations that you're having with yourself? So, most of this internal dialogue and internal beliefs and things that you tell yourself, because I am guilty of it too. And I have a lot of actual things to talk about for this topic. So I'm sure I will be covering it again in the future. I have narrowed it down to a few basic points today. So, welcome, like I said, to this week's episode of the Rockstar Manifestors podcast. My name is Patty, and I specialize in helping you believe in your dreams and show up as the person who already has your desires so that they have no choice but to manifest for you and show up in your reality. So that is what you will hear me talk a lot about. And the reason that I'm talking, oops, my camera's moving, or I'm moving it. The reason that I am talking about this topic today has to do with the lunar phase that we're currently in. So I am recording this on March 8th, 2023, and we had the full moon in Virgo yesterday. So when I'm recording this, we are still in full moon energy. And this applies, though, not only to right now in this time frame, because Virgo, we get the moon is in Virgo every single lunar cycle. The moon moves through all 12 zodiac signs every single month. And so any day that the moon is in Virgo, these types of themes and issues and topics will be relevant or may be relevant, maybe a little stronger or not so strong, depending on your current circumstances, the season of life you're in, etc. But we are all affected by what is happening with the moon. It affects the public because everyone is experiencing the energies, the things that are going on, whether we're in tune with it or not, or realize it, or choose to even acknowledge or work with it. It's there affecting everyone. We're all experiencing it. So, what if you chose to stop being your own worst critic? And if you're not familiar with the zodiac or not too familiar, if this is something new for you, you will hopefully, like me, find it fascinating and start working with it on some level or not. But I'm here to provide the information for you. So, Virgo is an earth sign. Earth, the element of earth is about stability and structure and longevity, like long term and planning, and our material and personal safety as well. Our material, like our home, our earnings, our money. So our safety and stability and security. And Virgo particularly really loves to plan. They're a planner. They like to have practical steps in place and look at things logically. And those are positive things, but taken to the extreme, Virgos can tend to be a little bit perfectionistic, controlling, and how they believe things should go. And this is not a criticism on Virgo because every single one of us, we have all 12 zodiac signs somewhere in our chart. So you have, or we all have, these tendencies or these traits somewhere in our chart. It just depends where and in what way they show up. So the more you hang around here, you will learn more about how I like to work with the moon and the zodiac to help you and myself become the next up leveled and ongoing improving version of yourself and myself. So um, what if you chose to stop being your own worst critic? And this has come up in several ways recently in different conversations, posts, and things that I have had or seen and just, experienced myself. One of them being how many of you can relate to saying something along the lines, I need more time to learn this thing, or I'm not quite ready yet. It's not quite ready, to go. If you're doing a project or something that's being delivered or turned in, or just something that you're working on, or even if you're doing something more along the lines of starting a business or getting ready to train, or you want to train for a marathon, or anything that you have this internal dialogue, this automatic negative thought, which you have heard me refer to before as ants, which I learned from my coach that automatic negative thoughts are ants, and we need to squash those thoughts. And so, if you are someone who has these thoughts, like, I'm not quite ready yet, I need more time, or now is not the right time, I need more experience, I'm not qualified to apply for that job or for that position, anything that actually is holding you back, that is telling you you're not ready, it's not the right time, whatever. If you can relate to that, then this conversation will be relevant. And if it's not something that you're experiencing currently, just keep this in the back of your mind, because we all go through different seasons, and it may not be for a job, it may not be for a relationship, whatever the case is. We will all experience these themes somewhere along the way in our life, more than once. I think is fair to say, as we kind of go through life and different seasons of life. So your inner critic is actually trying to protect you. It's your ego. It's saying, it's not quite ready because it's something different. You're thinking or wanting or planning to do something different that is out of the norm. And your brain wants to stay status quo because it has served you so far. You're fine, you're safe, you're alive. Even if you're in circumstances that are less than desirable, it's familiar. And you're coming or what happy or comfortable. I shouldn't say happy, comfortable. And it wants to keep you safe that way. So when you're coming up with all these dreams and or ideas or things you want to try or do, then you get excited, and pretty soon results and ideas are chose to stop being your own worst critic and instead decided to be your biggest cheerleader, your best friend, your biggest supporter, and saying, "Yes, let's try it. Let's do it." What if it doesn't work? That's okay. We'll learn something. Or we'll realize whether we like it or not, or whether it's for us or not. But the thing is, we won't know until we actually do it. That goes for you and that goes for me as well. And one thing that I want to let you in on is, a lot of the time, probably a larger portion of the time than I'm even aware of, the things that I'm talking about are also things that are relevant to me. The things that I'm teaching you or sharing with you, even if I've experienced it, they're still relevant to me, or I'm sharing because of that experience, to provide my input, my insights, my experience. But I will go through these themes repeatedly, just like everyone else. So this is for you and for me. So it is a win-win on my end, anyway. Um, so what if instead of looking at the worst, you looked at the best possible outcome? Or what if instead of saying, it's not good enough, saying, yes, it is. We can improve again. It's good enough. You know enough. You have enough experience to start. And also, along with having enough experience, along with being able to get started, you know that simply by getting started or by trying or by, putting something out there, it doesn't mean you have to stop learning. This is something that was pointed out to me by my coach a while back when I said, I'm ready. I've been in the learning and practicing and trying stage, and I'm ready to just, actually put it out there. I had gotten to a point where it's like, I know I'm never going to feel ready, but I'm at a point where I'm ready to put it out there. And she said to me, or reflected back to me, that just because you start, just because you do get going, does not mean that the learning stops. We are always learning. We learn what works and what doesn't work. We learn whether we like it or don't like it. When we do these things, we won't get that feedback. We won't get that clarity simply by thinking it through or thinking about it or planning or coming up with the what ifs and trying to prepare for them. We won't get that information that only doing, trying, starting, redoing, trying again, pivoting, changing, that those things give us, because we can't know. We can think we'll know how it feels. We can think we know how long it will take. We can think that we know, all the steps from A to Z if we plan it well enough or long enough. But life happens. One step that you take might change other things around you because it always is affecting something else. And so that changes something that maybe you couldn't have foreseen. So, being mindful or aware of the fact that we're only going to get that clarity and we're only going to get that momentum and that movement forward by trying. So, your inner critic, your inner perfectionist is sneakily, maybe even not so sneakily, maybe quite boldly, simply holding you back by trying to keep you right where you are, which the way your brain sees it is safe. Now, safe is great. We do need to be safe. Virgo is an earth sign, after all, which has to do with our safety and stability. But also, staying put is not growing. And we are safe in trying new things. We are safe and supported. We may experience some bumps along the way, but wouldn't you much rather know and have that experience or see what results come from chasing and following and pursuing and trying your dream versus planning it and wishing for it and saying, oh, well, maybe after this happens, or maybe after that happens, because there's always going to be something else that will seem important enough to hold it off or to put it off for. So, um, tying this conversation back to the zodiac and the lunar cycle that we're in, the new moon we had a couple of weeks ago was the new moon in Pisces. And Pisces is a water sign, and it is the dreamer, like dreaming big and tapping into our dreams and intuition and what if, allowing yourself to dream as big as you possibly can. Now comes Virgo, which is the opposite sign. If you look on the zodiac chart, the wheel, Virgo is the opposite sign. And that happens every single lunar cycle. We have a new moon in a zodiac sign. 2 weeks later, we have the full moon in the opposite sign. And that creates a resistance or, friction. I don't think I'm quite finding the right word, but an opposition. And that is to show us, the opposite side. So we're dreaming big in Pisces, and now Virgo is here to say, okay, great, dreamer. What are some practical steps that you can take to get to that dream, to move closer to the dream? So it's not that Virgo is bad, like I said at the beginning. It's just looking at the aspects and fueling and working with the ones that move us in a practical direction. The perfectionist and the critic will keep you from moving forward, will keep you from taking action. But the planner and the practical aspect of Virgo can help you identify some practical steps to take, some action steps, some ways to get the momentum going. And that is the beautiful part of Virgo to tap into. Virgo is also of being of service. So, how can you be of service to yourself, to your dream, to your desire, maybe even to the community, whatever that is for you, your household, your neighborhood, the world, whatever it is, by going for your dream, going for those desires, doing the things that you have been putting off. And yes, being of service to yourself is valid. It's absolutely valid and crucial because you are the common denominator of absolutely everything in your life. You've heard me say this before if you've been around for a while, and you will hear me say that again because that is my main premise of how I work with people and the workshops that I do and the coaching that I do is working on yourself by default affects every single area of your life in some way. And by working with the zodiac and specifically with the lunar cycle, you will continually be working or have the ability, have like a framework to work on every aspect of your life every year and check in on it, improve it. Maybe make some changes, see where you're ready to move on. What's not working and what do you want to try moving forward? So it's a continual spiral upwards by working with the lunar cycle. And the lunar cycle and the zodiac provide an absolutely perfect framework for us to follow. So let me get into or keep going with some of the other aspects that I was going to talk to you about. So tying this concept of the zodiac, the opposition of, Pisces and Virgo, it is, see, where did I write it down here? Ha ha ha. You think you know where all your notes are, but then it doesn't show up. So, making change or being practical, going for your dreams, Virgo, by connecting to the emotion. And that ties back to Pisces because the water sign of Pisces has to do with our emotions. So, how will it feel to make progress towards whatever you're working on? How will it feel to show up and take up space and be the person that you wish you were? It happens by doing. It doesn't happen by simply thinking about it. Thinking about it, wishing and dreaming is a place to start, but we need that Virgo, the earth signs, to get that practical nature, get the stuff done. A friend of mine once said, we would never get anything done if it weren't for the earth signs of the zodiac. So sometimes they may get a hard rap, but they really are beneficial to us. All of them are because just like anything else, it's like two sides of a coin. Um, so, like I said, the learning and the doing can coexist because the learning never actually stops. And as you are letting go of this inner critic and focusing instead on the practical steps and being your nurturer, your own nurturer, the nurturer of your dreams and desires. So by letting go of the perfectionistic expectations of the inner critic that is holding you back, you are then energetically creating space to invite and fill that space with gratitude and self care. And I'm speaking for this lunar cycle, but again, Virgo is always the opposite sign of Pisces. So you can choose to work with either side of that coin depending on where the moon is or where the sun is. It's something that you can work on and choose to work or use in layers, different aspects of it. So by letting go of the things that don't serve you. That inner critic, especially now that we're in the waning half of the lunar cycle here, it opens up space for you to practice and fill that space energetically with gratitude and self care. And here's something I learned very recently, or an aspect of self care that I had not been aware of, or I had not really heard it or thought of it this way, that self care, practicing regular self care, making that a part of your whatever, daily, weekly, a regular aspect of your life. And learning what that is for you, and it probably won't be the same thing every time. So, by regularly incorporating self care into your routine, into your life, you start to send a message. You start to send signals and give evidence to your brain that you are a priority, that you are worthy of making yourself a priority, that you are worthy of treating yourself well, that you are worthy of feeling good, of making your well being, your happiness, a priority. Because most of the time, until we do it on purpose and make it a priority, self care can tend to take a back seat. And so learning this and being aware or knowing that self-care is actually a way of establishing worthiness and making that your new normal and up leveling that, it's like, oh my gosh, that was just like a mind-blowing moment for me. Because let me read you or go through how I wrote down this sequence of events. So, as you let go of the inner critic or the perfectionistic expectations, you invite or create space for gratitude and self care, which sends a message of worthiness to your brain. And why is this important? Because a lot of times we don't go after our dreams because we don't feel worthy of them. We don't think we deserve them. We don't think they're possible for us. So that's how I'm tying this worthiness aspect to this conversation. So we start sending messages to our brain of worthiness. By regularly treating yourself well and prioritizing your well being, AKA self care, you continuously, on a regular basis, send yourself the message that you are worthy, and you strengthen it and you solidify it. Continuously sending yourself the message that you are worthy hardwires your brain to believe it. It now becomes a belief that you are worthy versus the old way of being that, oh, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, it's not for me. And then believing you are worthy sends out the vibration and the energy of feeling worthy, that you are worthy of wonderful and amazing things and a fabulous and exciting life. And this feeling and vibration then attracts the things, experiences, people, the life that you desire. That is manifestation, my friends. It starts with the desire, and then it starts with and then identifying how you want to feel. How does the person who feels that way show up, act, take care of themselves? That starts to hardwire your brain to make it a new belief. And so then your belief sends out the energy and the vibration that, yes, hot damn, I'm worth what I want. I deserve amazing things. I expect amazing things. And that vibration attracts the things you want and more. It allows you to take the focus off trying to hustle, trying to make it happen, and it allows you to make yourself the priority and then subsequently have and experience all these amazing results, right? So that, my friends, is the process of manifestation. So, in recap, even though I'm talking about this shortly after the Virgo full moon, this concept applies at any time. Anytime you catch yourself feeling, thinking that I'm not ready. It's not the right time. It's not perfect enough. Anytime you catch yourself, stop, redirect to how can I feel better in this moment? That thought, that process, how can I feel better? How can I speak nicer to myself? Starts to create the rewiring that you are important. You are worthy and deserving of feeling good. Feeling good then develops into a belief that yes, I am a person who feels good and enjoys life and I am happy, and that vibration attracts the amazing things that you want. So I think I've said it three different ways or two times the same way. So let go of the inner critic and know that the learning and the getting clarity and retweaking and pivoting and trying again is an ongoing basis. So if you have something that you're holding yourself back on, use this part of the lunar cycle to let it go, work on letting it go, and replacing that feeling of unworthiness, feeling of not being ready, with with replacing it with the belief that you are worthy. And that process starts simply by treating yourself well, making yourself the priority. So you see how these little steps have compound effects. A lot of times, how, I have been um I have experienced this where there's something that I don't believe, like I am worthy, or that my dreams are possible, or that I can um have a higher income. Those things I didn't believe for a long time. So if that belief is not there, if the underlying belief is that it's not possible for us, then that's what's going to happen. We may achieve some of the goals or some level of up leveling for a little bit, but we're not going to maintain it. And so I tried to force the belief, right? By using affirmations, or just saying, stop thinking that way, or whatever, many different things that I tried. And that never works, at least for me, because then it feels forced. And I know that, in the back of my head, I really don't believe this. And I'm just trying to convince or lie to myself or make it happen. And so the huge message that I have had recently is break it down to those little steps. And the little step in belief, the little step in developing belief is by being kind to yourself, treating yourself well, which starts to then expand that feeling of worthiness. So that's what I have for you guys today. If you have topics that you would like me to cover on the podcast here, you can. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, let me know in the comments. If you're listening to the podcast, you can email me any topics that you would like me to cover at vision, VISION, at bluemoonmanifestations.com. And right now, as I'm recording this live on March 8th, I am going to invite you. I will put the link in all the places in the descriptions or comments or wherever it needs to be after I finish this live recording of an upcoming workshop. It's going to be on March 19th, and it's going to be the second sort of in a series. I started in winter when I talked about how looking at the lunar cycle over the course of a year, a 12-month period, you can break down the year into the lunar phases. I focused on the quarters: new moon, first quarter moon, full moon, and third quarter moon throughout the year. Spring is equivalent to the first quarter moon phase, which is going to be the time to take action and start seeing some results and momentum. And so the first part of the year was the new moon part, where we're setting intentions, feeling into those intentions, getting clear. And come spring, the spring equinox and this season of the year is the time to start taking action. And it's a whole season long. So this is how you work with yearly intentions, yearly goals, yearly resolutions, if that's what you choose to work with. breaking it down to coordinate with the lunar phases and the seasons of the year. And so the link to that workshop is going to be in all the places shortly after this live recording ends. And the workshop will be live on Zoom on March 19th. If you cannot make it, I think it's at 11 a.m. Pacific, but I'll have to check when I actually scheduled it. If you cannot make it live, I recommend or I invite you to go ahead and register for the workshop because everyone who registers gets the replay emailed to you guys. So then you can have access to it and rewatch it, save the page with the link and you can refer back to it at any time, however long it lives online, right? So look for that information. And if you don't find it, you can also email me at the email I just gave you. But really, the best way is to be on my email list. And you will see a link shortly, or if you're watching this in the future, it's already there on how to get on my email list with a link that is to my Manifesting Songs playlist. And that playlist simply consists of songs that I feel tap into that anything is possible energy, which again, like I talked about today, ties into that belief factor and the worthiness factor. So look for the links in all the places or email me at vision@bluemoonmanifestations.com. And I cannot wait to hear your stories and see the results of what being kind to yourself and making self-care a regular part of your life to develop that belief and feeling of worthiness and attract all the amazing things. I cannot wait to hear and read your stories. So keep me in the loop and I will talk to you guys next time. Take care.